Hello, I'm Julie, and today I'm finally setting up my 2026 reading journal. Yes, I know it's very late. I've got window pages, Dutch door pages, pocket pages, and a few fun challenge pages planned, so I'm really excited to see how this journal is going to turn out. This is the Forest Findings journal from Archer and Olive. Thank you to everyone who suggested that I don't start this mid-year but save it for my 2026 reading journal. I took your advice and now I'm ready to get started. I've never had a proper dedicated reading journal before, so I'm very excited, but as a perfectionist, a little bit apprehensive because I don't want to spoil this beautiful journal. I've gathered together a whole host of scrapbooking supplies, washi tapes, stamps and ink. So I think I'm finally ready to dive on in. I have watched and got inspiration from a couple of YouTubers who I will mention throughout this video. I decided not to do anything with the title page, and most people say that it's a good idea to stick this page down to this one. So that's what I'm going to do before I start. The first page that I'm going to work on is my 2026 title page. I've already got an idea of what I want to do. Well, I know what scrapbook paper I want to use, but apart from that, I'm not sure what's going to happen after I've added that. This is the scrapbook paper that I wanted to use because it's perfect to me. It's got a typewriter, which reminds me of my days when I used to sit at my old typewriter typing out the novels that I was writing and trying to get published. And we've got the little Once Upon Time in the typewriter font. I'm going to measure first to make sure I cut the paper in the right place. So I need to go 14.5 centimetres. I'll double check both pages, they should be same, and 20.5 going down. When you have a new Archer and Olive journal, it's really hard to break into it and get started because of that fear of messing it up. But I've already finished one book so far this year, so I need to get this done so that I can start recording. I'm probably being quite ambitious for my first reading journal because I think I've got about 10 to 14 different pages that I'm hoping to make. And instead of keeping them simple, as I said, I've got these plans to make some really special creative pages. I don't know how well this is going to do being stuck in the middle. I'm a little bit worried that it may come apart. It's the whole closing the page thing as to whether that may not close now because I've stuck it a little bit close, so I might have to trim that. Going to be a problem. I think I might get away with it. We'll have to see over time how that holds up. So now I can trim off the edge. I always forget which way I've got to turn the journal around to do the cutting. I know I'll feel a lot happier once the first page is done. I'm going to keep it fairly simple because the scrapbook paper is so pretty. using my corner rounder to round off the corners. I need to trim that a little bit, but there is the first page, and now I need to do something to say 2026 reading journal. I have these alphabet stickers from Planning Things Reading Through the Seasons, and I thought they would be perfect. They go with this vintage vibe, but of course I do have the problem of the fact that if I want to centre them, it's going to be a letter right in the middle, which I'll probably have to cut, and the same with the word journal, but that really can't be helped, so I think I will just have to go for it. I really did want to include my 2025 pages in here, because that's the first year after a long break that I got back into reading. And when I posted that last video asking whether you thought I should start this journal straight away or wait until 2026, I was kind of hoping that the majority would say start now and transfer what you've done. I'll cut the D here. And then at first, that's what a few of the comments said. I don't think I've lined that quite up properly. Try it again. But then more and more of you said best to leave it till 2026 and start afresh. That looks pretty good. I did think about using a different font, but what I've done is move the letters closer together. I'm still going to have the problem with the R, and probably going to have to cut it right down the middle. Easy matching it up. Now, I don't think I cut that in the right place, so this is where my perfectionism comes in. I'm going to get another R and try again. Let's see if this is better. So far, so good. Too low again, but definitely better spaced, so worth going to the extra effort. I think that's pretty good. Happy with that. I do need a 2026, and unfortunately there are no numbers in that Planning Things sticker book, so I'm going to have a little look in my stash. I have a huge stash of alphabet stickers. These are brown ones from Doodlebug, which do have numbers on as well, so will be perfect. Probably should add a little bit of glue on these numbers, because I've had them for some years. I don't know why that 6 looks so giant compared to the others, so I will add some glue. Just using my Zig glue pen. when I'm making cards for people and adding ages, I do find that the letters and numbers can pop off, so it's best to add a little bit of glue. I'm not sure if this page needs anything else adding to it. I think I will leave it like this because I know I've got lots more adventurous pages to do ahead. The next page I want to work on is my 26 books for 2026. These are pages I made last year, but this wasn't a dedicated reading journal. My goal was to read 25 and I only managed to read 12. But I'm going to set myself the challenge of 26 books in 2026 and see if I can do a little bit better. I really liked this page, but there was one big thing I didn't like about it. I spent ages practicing drawing these books, and then I realised after I drew them when I was filming the video, I drew them all upside down. They were supposed to be that way round with the pages showing at the bottom. So I thought I'd probably recreate this page in this year's journal. I am going to be doing a bookshelf page where I colour in the books I read, but this one I feel shows the titles and the authors really clearly, so I'm going to include it as well. Something I've done this year is, rather than rely on alphabet stickers, I've printed out all my headers in the same font so I can have that consistency going through the journal. So I printed out 26 books in 2026 in 2 different sizes because I wasn't sure which I'd need. One of the dilemmas I had with setting up this journal was deciding whether it was going to have a theme and keeping that theme consistent throughout all the pages. Although I quite like the idea of having a theme, I thought it would be quite difficult to maintain the whole way through the journal. And on the whole, this dark brown academia look is not really my style, but it matches the actual journal so well. But I thought I'd go with it for some of the pages at least. But I do have stickers and washi that are of different colour palettes, so I think I'm going to have to see what happens. Now, last time I put this washi at the top, but it sort of makes more sense to me at the bottom. So I'll kind of be moving everything up. And I'll use this script washi at the top. This is another Planning Thing washi. I am an affiliate for Planning Thing, so check the description for my link, and you can use my discount code Julie10 to save 10% on anything except subscriptions. Planning Thing is definitely my go-to washi tape. And I will have to find another girl sticker to go on this page. I've got the whole problem of splitting the title again if I use the big letters. Maybe I should go with the smaller version. And I noticed that on a lot of the YouTube videos I watched, people had pre-prepared the pages, so I will need to do a little bit of preparation in this. It's actually quite reassuring as a non-drawer to see that other people have to sketch things out first in their reading journal. Sometimes when you see other YouTubers creating these stunning pages and they look like they've done it all from scratch, it can be a bit intimidating. But I know some of those videos are edited, so you don't see the whole process, which is why I like to show as much of my process as possible. So you can see what you can achieve, even if you're not that confident with drawing. Having said that, I'm not going to make you watch me draw over my lines as I create this book page, as I think you've got the idea. So now you see me start. I'll be back when I've drawn all the books. I'm extremely happy with how the books have turned out. Now they're the right way up and look so much better than the ones I drew last year. So a word to all of those of you out there who don't think you can draw. I can't draw very well. I don't consider myself in any way having any drawing ability other than basic, but it shows that you can improve when you practice. A couple of things went wrong with this page, unfortunately. I started drawing this book in the wrong place and I don't seem to have any Uniball Signo pens left. I did try to use whiteout, but it made a bit of a mess. So that's why I've added this little strip of washi, because that covers the worst. But I will have to white that out when I get a new Uniball Signo. And also I forgot that there shouldn't be a book here because I'm only doing 26 and started drawing one. But I'll probably be able to cover that one up with a sticker. So all that's left to do on this page is add a couple of stickers on either side. Last time I had a girl and a couple of quotes and some books. I have this afternoon reading sticker book that's absolutely gorgeous. I got from Doodle Diaries and I am an affiliate of theirs, and you can save 12% with my code JulieSave12. But it's a really good book if you like stickers for reading. Got libraries, lots of girls reading, piles of books. This is very autumnal though, I will say, so it's not necessarily for reading throughout the whole year, but I'm going to make it work. Got this really pretty girl here that I thought I would have down the bottom, and although this is a clear sticker, I think it will cover up that mistake. I like this one because it had an open book like the ones that I was trying to draw. So I'm not quite sure how to angle this sticker, so I want to cover up the mistake, and I think if I can find a tiny quote for there, we'll be done. This I Love book sticker book from Planything is perfect for quotes because it does have smaller quotes in it and quite a good variety. I used these in my pages last year. Even though they are small stickers, this space is very small, so I think I will cut the book off this one and use this Book Lover. And I might cut that little piece of the book off there. And that page is done. So on to the next page. This is going to be my bookshelf, and I wanted to make it a window page. I was inspired by a video from Tori Ramos. I hope I've said her name correctly. I'll link the video on screen in case you want to check it out, where she's setting up her 2026 reading journal. She actually made her own windows, which I have done in the past, but I have these ones from Doodle Diaries, so I'm going to have a little window. and my bookshelf will go onto 2 pages. So technically this page should be called My Bookshelves, but I'll probably stick to the title that I've printed. When I was a child, I loved reading. I remember my trips to the library with my mum. Of course, I was a big Enid Blyton fan. Loved the Famous Five, the Mallory Towers and St Clair's books. Always dreamed of going to a boarding school, and I'm sure that boarding schools in reality were nothing like the ones in Enid Blyton's books, with midnight feasts and all sorts of exciting things happening. I also loved The Naughtiest Girl in the School, The Faraway Tree, Those Dreadful Children, Six Cousins Again. There were so many favourites. I couldn't get enough of them. I also really loved the Ballet for Drina books by Jean Estoril. I did do ballet for a very, very short time, which is quite funny because I'm not the most graceful person. Bullet in a China Shop comes to mind. And the other thing that was strange as to why I liked them was because it was all about Drina travelling to different countries around the world, and I'm not someone who travels very much. But there was just something I really loved about those books, and I was really happy that as an adult I managed to pick up all the books, and I found to my delight that there was a final book called Drina Ballerina, which I hadn't even known existed, which tied the whole story up and had Drina reaching her goal of being a ballerina. As a teenager, I mainly read romance novels, and then I got into fantasy with the books of Terry Brooks and the Shannara series. I really enjoy reading about fantasy worlds, fairies, dragons, swords, and of course feisty female characters who can show the guys a thing or two. Once I became a teacher, that's where my reading journey ended, which seems a little bit ironic, seeing as I was teaching children to read and trying to develop their love of reading at the same time whilst not reading myself. But I found I didn't have time for reading. My work was all-consuming. If you know any teachers out there, or if you're a teacher yourself, you'll probably know what I mean. I did really enjoy helping the children learn to read. Here in the UK, we mainly use reading scheme books. In my first school, it was Roger Red Hat, which were the most boring books I think I've ever seen. So absolutely no fun hearing children read, "This is Roger. Roger has a red hat," and so on. So I really enjoyed it when the schools moved to the Oxford Reading Tree books, all about Biff, Chip and Kipper. If you're not from the UK, you probably haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. But the stories were much more real life and fun, and of course phonic based, which is how reading is taught in the UK. I'm not sure what the current reading schemes are in the UK. I know they've moved on from Oxford Reading Tree, Biff, Chip and Kipper. But reading to my class and doing literacy-based activities was always my favourite thing as a teacher. It was just sad I didn't have time to read any books myself. I'm really pleased with how these books are turning out. If it looks like I'm drawing slowly, then I am, even though I have lines to go over. I find that if I try to speed up, I often go off the lines, and then being a perfectionist, I'm cross with myself. I did think it would be a lot simpler to make a list of the books that I'm reading. But as this is my first reading journal, I really wanted it to be something special. I could have this cosy armchair here if it fits. I might cut away the fall leaves on the floor. I'm not quite sure why there would be leaves on the floor in your living room. And maybe I'll put a quote there or find another sticker. But I'm going to do the window now. I'm going to have a little wall effect. I think Tori used stamps. I've got this brick washi from Planything. It matches the chair really well. And so I don't forget where the window is going, and we'll mark it on top of the washi because I'm going to be covering the marks that I made. I have read a lot of the classics. I did study English literature and French at A level. I can't believe now that I actually studied and read French books. And my degree was in combined studies, so I did English, drama and American studies. So I read a lot of books and plays. Rather astonishingly though, I have never ever read any Charles Dickens, so maybe I should put that on my reading bucket list. I love Jane Austen. And I used to really enjoy Shakespeare. I have the complete works of Shakespeare, but I don't know if I could read them today. That's another thing that maybe I should try. This part is always the tricky part because you have to cut through the paper and the washi. It's better to cut less away at first than to make the gap too wide for the window, as you can always take off a little bit more later. Sometimes the X-Acto knife doesn't cut through properly and you have to go back in like I'm doing. And give it a little pull to get the edges free. And of course it's at this point I realise that I should have put the washi on the other side first before I cut the window. So what I'll have to do is lay the washi over the hole instead. It'll probably stick to the cutting mat. Now cutting this is going to be much more fiddly without the washi being stuck to the paper. So I need to try and remember this next time I'm doing something similar with a window page. The washi tape has stuck to the cutting mat. Now I just need to trim off the edges. One last check to see that the hole I've cut is the right shape for the window. And now the fun part of adding some stickers from the afternoon reading sticker book. I really don't like that giant maple leaf on the sofa, so I'm wondering if I can have this girl sitting on the sofa and that will cover it. Just need to move her head out of the way. I'm really quite excited about trying some of these fantasy novels that actually have a bit of romance in them, because when I was reading fantasy books, there was just the subtlest amount of romance in the story. Nothing very big at all, nothing key to the plot. You might get a couple of characters who became friends, and at the end maybe there was a suggestion that there would be more. But romance was not a big thing in the fantasy genre, or at least for the Terry Brooks books that I read. So now I understand it's a huge thing. I'm excited but a little bit wary, because the most important things to me in a book are the characters and the story. I have to love the characters. If I don't, then I'm not interested in the story. And I'm certainly not wanting to read anything too raunchy. Time to add the windows from Doodle Diaries now. I'm really upset that I only bought 2 packs of these so that I could have a front and back to every window page I made, because they're sold out now and I haven't seen anything similar. So it's definitely something I'm on the lookout for, because I love making window pages. I'm using my Zig glue pen to add glue to the window, which is a little bit fiddly because there's only a narrow part to apply the glue to. But at least the glue does come out blue so that you can see where you've placed it. Next, I need to add the window on the other page, and then the window part will finally be finished. So as well as continuing to gather recommendations from Mary Ellen through watching her reading journal videos, what I've been doing is making a note of books that have popped up on Instagram when people are talking about their favourite books of the year or favourite books of the month. Looking into them, seeing if they sound interesting, and then going to my library and seeing if they have them. I think the top of the page looks really bare, so I've decided to bring in some washi tape, again from Planything. I'm 100% a physical book person. I have tried listening to a book once in the car when I was driving to and from work. It was a strange experience, very different from reading, I found it. Probably need to give it another try now I'm a bit older, but for me there's something about reading an actual physical book that I enjoy. One of the problems I have is that it takes me a long time to read a book, unless it's like that first Frida McFadden book that I couldn't put down. So the library issues a book for 3 weeks, and being a procrastinator, I tend to only start reading it a few days before it's actually due back. Quite often the books I've wanted have not been in stock, so they have to request them. And I know one of the Frida McFadden books I requested last year didn't appear for about 6 months. So you don't know how long it's going to take. So this year I requested 3 books. It Ends With Us, Wicked and Quicksilver. And I started the year reading The Housemaid because of the movie coming out. But what happened, of course, all 3 books turned up at the same time. So I was still reading The Housemaid when I got the other 3. The bookshelves look a little bit empty, so I'm going to add a few books and items to them using stickers from the afternoon reading sticker book. I have finished The Housemaid. Might talk about that in the video where I'm making my book review pages. But I'm currently reading It Ends With Us. And I'm running out of time before it's due back. And although you can renew the books after 3 weeks, you don't know if someone else has asked for them. And sometimes you just have to take them straight back. So I have a feeling that even though I've requested these 3 books, I'm probably only going to finish one of them before I have to take them back, and then I'll have to request them again. So it's not a perfect system. I still have all my books from my childhood in my house. Some of them I've read many, many times. I do like to reread books, even as an adult. I also bought the Terry Brooks books. But because of all the craft and planner supplies in my house, I really don't have any room in my house for any more books, so I'm happy getting them from the local library. Just making sure the stickers are stuck down properly. I think these stickers have been a great match for this spread. I don't know how I'd have made it without them. I noticed when I added this scalloped washi to the other page that when you cut it off, it doesn't actually look like scalloped washi. But the colour matches the rest of the spread, so I'm adding it to this page as well. It's a shame there weren't more stacks of books in this sticker book that I could add to the shelves, because I think the previous page looked perfect. And I'm not too happy with this cup of tea sitting here with the steam coming off it, so I am going to cut the steam away. If I can find some books in another sticker book later, I may well swap the cup of tea and mug out from this page because they look a little bit out of place. I think I'm going to stop there. So let's take a look at everything I've done so far in this reading journal in this video today. We started with the title page. Very happy with how that turned out, using scrapbook paper and some Plannything letters. Next was 26 books in 26, apart from my little tiny mistake. Really loving this page, particularly how well my drawing turned out. And finally we have my bookshelf, or should I say bookshelves. And we do have a little gap here that's maybe asking for a quote. And I'll probably do a few little lines on some of the books to make them look a little bit more bookish. But I absolutely love how the wall turned out and the view through the window. I hope you've enjoyed seeing me set up these pages. In my next video, I'm going to be moving on to my book challenges. I have a bingo challenge, a rainbow book challenge, an A to Z challenge, and I'm also planning to do a book awards page. So if you've enjoyed my video today, do subscribe and click that notification bell so you can find out when part 2 of setting up my reading journal is up. Hope you have a great day and bye for now.